Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari Jaya Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Shri Radha Madhava Ki Jai Shri Radha Giriraj Ki Shri Giriraj Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Gaurnitai Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajakacharya Ashto Tarashatta Shri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai All glories to the assembled devotees All glories to the assembled devotees all glories to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 84, The Sage's Teachings at Kurukshetra, and we're on text 34. I'll just read the translation. Shukadeva Goswami continued, The sages then spoke again, O king, addressing Vasudeva, while all the kings, along with Lord Achyuta and Lord Ram, listened. Text 35. The sages said, It has been definitely concluded that work counteracted by further work when one executes Vedic sacrifices as a means of worshipping Vishnu, the Lord of all sacrifices, with sincere faith. No, I'll say that again. It has been definitely concluded that work is counteracted by further work when one executes Vedic sacrifices as a means of worshipping Vishnu, the Lord of all sacrifices, with sincere faith. Text 36. Learned authorities who see through the eye of Scripture have demonstrated that this is the easiest method of subduing the agitated mind and attaining liberation, and that it is a sacred duty which brings joy to the heart. And then today's text, 37. Ayam swastyayana panta dvijate grihamedinaha yachstradayapta vitena shuklene jyeta purushaha. Ayam swastyayana panta dvijatir grihamedinaha yachstradayaptavitena shuklene jyeta purushaha. Please chant. Mataji's. I am this swasti, auspiciousness, ayanaha, bringing, panta, the path, dvi jatehe, for one who is twice born, being a member of one of the three higher social orders. Griha, at home. Medhi naha, who performs sacrifices. Yat, that, shraddhaya, selflessly. Apta, obtained by just means. Vittena, with his possessions. Shuklena, untainted. Ijyeta, one should worship. Purushaha, the personality of Godhead. Translation: this is the most auspicious path for a religious householder of the twice-born orders, to selflessly worship the personality of Godhead with wealth honestly obtained. Purport: both Sridhar Swami and Sri Jiva Goswami here agree that the ritual karma of Vedic sacrifices is particularly meant for attached householders. Those who are already renounced in Krishna consciousness, like Vasudeva himself, need only cultivate their faith in the Lord's devotees, his deity form, his name, the remnants of his food, and his teachings, as given in Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Paritanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So, the sages were about to leave after their exchange with Krishna, and then Vasudeva stopped them. He said, wait, don't go. I have a question to ask. And he asked about how to get free from karmic reactions. He says, kindly tell us how the reactions of one's work can be counteracted by further work. Karmana karmanirharo. How can we get free from our karma or reactions to previous work by karma, work. So that was his question. And basically, the sages didn't know what exactly to do. They felt uncomfortable. Generally, if one's in the presence of someone senior and one is in knowledge of and, how do I say, polite enough, if one's, according to proper etiquette, one should let the senior person talk. Let's say there's a few of us in the room and my spiritual master's there. Me and my god brothers and my spiritual, and some random new person comes in and asks us a question. They might direct it towards me, but I just look at my spiritual master, right? And he's the one who's going to answer. That's a principle in etiquette. That's actually shown in the third canto when Uddhava was speaking to Vidura. Uddhava said, Vidura wanted to inquire from Uddhava, but Uddhava said, actually, there's Maitreya nearby. I'm not going to answer your questions because that would be an offense to Maitreya. He's older than me. Even though Uddhava was, in one sense, more intimate than Maitreya. Uddhava was like Krishna's, dear devotee. But Uddhava, kind of setting the example, did not answer the questions. Instead, he directed Vidura to Maitreya. Thus, the third and fourth cantos were spoken. So anyhow, this is a principle, and that's why the sages didn't know they were a little confused. They thought, why is Vasudeva asking us? Krishna's standing right here, and what do we do now? And so that's why Narada Muni spoke these few verses here, addressing the sages, saying that, don't be so amazed by this, O sages. This Vasudeva only thinks Krishna's his son. He thinks he's a mere boy. And I thought Nayanamrita Prabhu brought up a very nice point yesterday about contempt. That verse, familiarity breeds contempt. He said it means disregard, which is there in the word for word. And that shed light on a new kind of way to understand what that phrase means, familiarity breeds contempt. And so anyhow, Narada Muni's telling the sages that, this is kind of the way Vasudev's treating Krishna, because, they have such an intimate relationship that he's not going to ask Krishna for the instruction. He's going to ask the sages. And my understanding was that some of the sages were getting disturbed, could have gotten disturbed in mind because of their reverential mood towards Krishna. It says in the purport there to text 30 that Narada was concerned that Vasudeva might create an awkward mood by treating Lord Krishna as a mere child in the presence of all the sages, because all the other sages felt obliged to maintain their attitude of reverence toward Krishna. So that's why Narada Muni was explaining yesterday's and the day before's verses. That no, he explained the relationship between Vasudeva and Krishna. So now the sages are answering. Having heard from Narada Muni, now they're proceeding to answer the question, how to counteract work by further work. The reactions of work by further work. And they say here, it has been definitely concluded that work is counteracted by further work when one executes Vedic sacrifices as a means of worshipping Vishnu, the Lord of all sacrifices, with sincere faith. So that's the point here, is that the only way to counteract reactions of work by more work is if one executes them as a means of worshipping Vishnu. So one has to do their work for Krishna. That's how you counteract the reactions of your work, material work. Otherwise, what you find yourself in is this concept of prayaschitta, atonement, that's discussed in the 6th canto, 1st chapter by Shukadeva Goswami Maharaj Parikshit. And that process of atonement is not actually, it's described by Maharaj Parikshit that that's like a elephant who takes a bath and then climbs out of the pond and then immediately takes some dust and throws it all over himself. So that's actually not a very intelligent thing to do. One would think, you just took a bath, why immediately get dirty again? But that's kind of what it means to counteract work, by further work. You can't counteract a sin by doing a pious activity. It doesn't work like that. If you follow the Vedic process, the ritualistic atonements mentioned in the Vedas, you're just getting more entangled in material energy, actually. That's how the great sages have said. So here, the sages cut right to the chase here. They don't describe much about atonement at all. They just say, yeah, the Vedic sacrifices, the Vedic processes, but you have to do it for Vishnu. If you do it as a means of worshiping Vishnu, then it works. And he says also, and they also say with sincere faith. With sincere faith, which Shraddhaya. So, yeah, they have to have faith in Krishna, in Vishnu, in the Supreme Personality Godhead. So if one performs their work for his worship, for his service, with faith, then one gets free from the past actions, past the karmic reactions, sinful or pious karmic reactions that we're all suffering. It's what's keeping us bound here is our karmic reactions. And so, and then they say, learned authorities who see through the eye of Scripture have demonstrated that this is the easiest method of subduing the agitated mind and attaining liberation, and that it is a sacred duty which brings joy to the heart. So that's because it's bhakti. That's because it's being offered to Krishna. So that liberation and the unagitated mind are symptomatic of being beyond the modes of nature. So one who is Brahman realized, one who is a jnani, one who is a yogi, they will also obtain this liberation and the subduction, I don't know if that's the right word, the subduing of the agitated mind. But they cannot necessarily bring joy to the heart by those activities, dry philosophical speculation, and the mystic yoga process. So only through devotion, through bhakti, offering as a means of worship one's work to Krishna with sincere faith, does one actually bring joy to the heart. And so it just again kind of shows the supremacy of bhakti. I mean, we can look at it in a little more analytical way. If we look at the spiritual energy, we hear what? Ishvara Parama Krishna, Sat Chit Ananda Vigraha, Anadi Radhir Govinda Sarva Karana Karana. So Sat Chit and Ananda. Sat is related to Krishna's Sandhani potency, Chit, the Samvit potency, and Ananda to the Ladhini Shakti. So those who are jnanis, those who are worshipping Brahman, they remember Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. These are three aspects of that non-dual substance known as the Absolute Truth. So that's described in the 1st canto. So one could be a transcendentalist and worshipping the Absolute Truth on any of these three levels. But we should understand that the Bhagavan realization is the highest level, the personality of Godhead. Why is it the highest level? Because it contains the other two in it also. It also contains the other two without extra endeavor. So those who are worshipping the Brahman, impersonal aspect of the Supreme, yeah, they might attain this freedom from the modes, the subduing of the agitated mind, and they attain liberation. Same thing with the yogis who worship Paramatma feature. They get even more. They get knowledge. They get full knowledge. But only the bhaktas can get joy to the heart. The ananda, right? The ladini potency is correlated with the Bhagavan feature. So that feature of ananda, of bliss, of joy, only comes about through actually worshiping the personality of Godhead. And so thus the sages are cutting right to the chase. They're saying, offer your work to Krishna, the personality of Godhead. You'll get free from your agitated mind. You'll get free from karmic reactions. You'll get liberation. And you'll be very, very blissful. Bring joy to the heart, which is what we all want, right? I do. I want some joy in my heart. So actually it's the nature of the soul to want joy in the heart. If one doesn't reach that feature, then one's realization of the absolute truth is not complete. One cannot be as satisfied as the devotees. And then in today's verse, this is the most auspicious path for a religious householder of the twice-born orders, to selflessly worship the personality of Godhead with wealth honestly obtained. So specifically here and now the sages are saying this is the most auspicious path for a religious householder. And what is that? To selflessly worship the personality of Godhead with wealth honestly obtained. Because we all have to worship the Lord with what we have got. So there's a verse in the first canto, very famous one, that chapter 2, text 8, Dharma swanushtita pumsam vishvaksena katasuyaha notparayed yadi ratim shrama evahi kevalam. The occupational activities a man performs according to his own position are only so much useless labor if they do not provoke attraction for the message of the personality of Godhead. So everyone has some occupational duty. Everyone has some psychophysical nature. Everyone has some sort of varna or ashram, which is dictated generally by one's karma, one's birth in a certain type of, not necessarily the physical body, but also the subtle body, whereas one's out psycho and physically, will determine what one's propensities and occupation could be. We're speaking in general social terms. And so whatever that is, it's useless actually. Whatever you do is useless. How does that feel to be told that? You've given your whole life to, fill in the blank, and it's useless. Why? Because you didn't worship Krishna with it. You didn't offer the results to Krishna. You didn't, you didn't think of Krishna at all. You didn't do it as a means of worshiping him. So therefore, we hear Sutta Goswami says that this is useless labor. But that's why the sages are saying they have to do it for Vishnu. So the householders, a householder is one who has a family, has the wife, has children, and therefore has to make money and maintain them. And so, that's kind of what householders do. They make money. That's kind of one thing that they do for all the twice-born orders. So they should offer their wealth honestly obtained to Krishna. And wealth here actually is it's vitena, which could mean wealth. It also, in the word for word, says possessions. So whatever one has, they should offer to Krishna. That's kind of the point here. If one's a householder, what does Bhaktivinoda Thakur say in the one bhajan? Manasadeho geho je kichu jo kichu more. Ar pilu tua pade Nanda Kishore. Thank you. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is setting the example here. The Acharya is setting the example that he offers everything, his mind, his home, his body, to Krishna. It's all his. It's his property. And so that's really the most auspicious path, is to selflessly worship what one's possessions are to Krishna for his service. And we can talk a little bit about what that means. It depends. That there's a lot of practical ways we can go about that. One can give a donation. Well, that's offering something that's in your possession. One can, bring the family to the temple. That's engaging the kids in service, devotional service. One could, read Bhagavad Gita, read Krishna book with the family, do devotional activities. There's on the practical level, it'll have to be specific according to one's own situation, but there's really no dearth, there's no lack of opportunity to engage every last bit of one's assets or possessions in Krishna's service. Because they're really not yours anyways, they're Krishna's. So, in the purport, both Sridhar Swami and Sri Jiva Goswami here agree that the ritual karma of Vedic sacrifices is particularly meant for attached householders. Those who are already renounced in Krishna consciousness, like Vasudeva himself, need only cultivate their faith in the Lord's devotees, his deity form, his name, the remnants of his food, and his teachings, as given in Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. So here we get another understanding that obviously if one's renounced, they already give all of their wealth, at least on the external platform, right? So they don't have wealth to give, but they should cultivate their faith in the Lord's devotees, his deity form, his name. And so there's a few verses in the Gita which describe this. In chapter 3, text 16 and 17, throughout this section of the Gita, but Krishna tells Arjuna, "My dear Arjuna, one who does not follow in human life the cycle of sacrifice thus established by the Vedas certainly leads a life full of sin. Living only for the satisfaction of the senses, such a person lives in vain." So, Prabhupada talks about in the purport how if one performs yajna, sacrifices, but not meant for Vishnu's satisfaction, these things are counted as only moral codes, and they could limit one's progress in Krishna consciousness. And so it's important. We have to offer sacrifice to Vishnu for his pleasure. There's really no way around it, especially in Kali Yuga. Good luck trying to just do Vedic yajna and go the multi-lifetime route of elevating oneself through karma kanda rituals and this and that. It's really impractical and really kind of hodgepodge nowadays. It's Kali Yuga. What can we say? Nothing's bona fide now. There's no qualified brahmanas to chant the Vedic mantras. So what's the use of your karma kanda? Better to do anything, whatever you do, for Krishna's satisfaction with sincere faith. That will produce the right result, which is Krishna consciousness and purification of the heart. Of course, the yajna for today's age is what? Sankirtan yajna. Yeah. Anyone know a verse? Okay, well that's a good verse. Of course, we should quote that one, but that's not the exact one I'm looking for. But that's a good one, which is related to this topic. Akama Sarva. Harinamas, that's a good one. Sarva. Yeah. I was saying it because we learned it in one of our classes. Yeah, she's saying the second half. Krishna Varnam Tusha Krishnam Sango Pangastra Parshadam Yagyai Sankirtana Prayar Yajantihi Sumedasaha. And that's saying that in Kali Yuga we worship the incarnation of the age, who is not blackish, but is Krishna himself, Lord Chaitanya. And he sings the holy names of Lord Krishna, and we worship that incarnation through the process of Sankirtan. And when I say we, I mean the Sumedhasaha, those who are intelligent people generally do that. So congratulations. Everyone here is intelligent. You're intelligent because you worship the Lord through the Sankirtan Yajna. That's what the Bhagavatam says. So good job. What was my point? Where did we go? Oh yeah, so that's the proper yajna to do. So when we're talking about Vedic sacrifices, we're not talking about necessarily, of course we have deity worship, right? So to offer one's wealth for the deity's pleasure is of course proper. And one should also make an endeavor to offer one's wealth or energy or brain power, whatever possessions if you've got a lot of brain power, start scheming how to spread the Sankirtan movement. If you got a lot of wealth, start sponsoring some books, start, building preaching centers, do stuff like that. Finance the temple. If you have, want to do some service, hey, there's so much service here. Remember Shyamsundar Prabhu's Thanksgiving presentation, the slide after slide after slide of what we were doing, what this temple's doing was pretty impressive, I thought. There's like hundreds of items that are going on I was unaware of. So there's no dearth of opportunity, no lack of opportunity to come serve. So whatever one has, one can engage in the Sankirtan movement. You're a cook, hey, cook for Krishna, cook for the Sankirtan devotees. So there's no lacking, but one has to do it for Krishna. One should not do it for just some fruitive result that let me engage in some Vedic yajna for attainment of heaven. Let me engage in some, even Sankirtan. Let me chant the name of Krishna. Let me chant Mahaprabhu's name so that my, for the sole reason, I'm saying for the sole reason, not to exclude this completely, but I'm saying if you have no devotion, you're only doing it for instance, one's daughter is sick or something. Like there's an example in the Bhaktisiddhanta Vaibhav where there's a lecture given by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur which goes over this one interesting circumstance where this one person, his name was R. Babu or something, he became a great devotee of Mahaprabhu. He would always chant Gauranga's name incessantly. He got deities of Lord Chaitanya and would worship them incessantly. And everyone praised him that this is a great devotee of Mahaprabhu. They thought he was a saint. And why was he doing this though? Because his daughter got some terminal illness. She was very young and got a terminal illness. So he decided, I will, to make her better, to heal that illness, I will worship Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And after a few months, she didn't get better, but she died. She left her body. And so, Jai Shri Radha Nila Madhava Ki Jai. And so then, he became an atheist. When he stopped performing his devotional activities, the whole town, people would say, what happened? What's going on? Why don't we see you dancing and chanting and worshiping Gauranga anymore? And he said, there is no such thing as Gauranga. If there was such thing as Gauranga, he would have healed my daughter, because that would have spread his fame more. if he would have healed my daughter from her terminal illness, then his name would spread far and wide. His potencies would, more people, my daughter would have become a devotee of his. More people who heard about this would have become devotees of Gauranga Mahaprabhu. So therefore, because he didn't do that, there must not be any Lord Chaitanya. So he became an ardent atheist. And so this one gentleman was relating this whole story to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And his response was very, very wonderful. And it started out by saying that he said that this person wasn't worshiping Mahaprabhu. He was worshiping someone else. He said, that's not the Mahaprabhu I worship. He said he wanted to keep Mahaprabhu like a hired gardener, like just someone that serves him. He was treating Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as someone that is for his service. And he said, I don't worship that Mahaprabhu. I worship the Mahaprabhu of Srivas Thakur, who, when his son died, during the Sankirtan pastimes in Mayapur, in Srivas Thakur, Srivas Angam, Srivas's son died. And, the ladies of the house, his wife, all the ladies in the house were freaking out. They were crying and whatnot. And Srivas Thakur chastised them and said, Lord Chaitanya is dancing in here. And if this crying and this noise disturbs his ecstasy, I will drown myself in the Ganga. So shut up. That's what he said. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said, I worship that Mahaprabhu of Srivas Thakur. And he made so many other nice references. What is it? Last verse of the Shikshashtakam. Ashlishyava padaratam panashtumam adarshanan marmahatam karotivaya yatatata vaviradatu lampatomat prananatas tuza evanaparaha. Whether you embrace me, whether you trample me, or never show yourself to me ever and give me your darshan, still, you're always the worshipable Lord of my heart. So that's our heritage, that's our lineage, that's the Siddhanta. That's the mood of the devotees. That's the mood of a devotee. Therefore, as the sages are saying, the sacrifice must be done for the worshipping Vishnu, not for any other purpose, with sincere faith. Otherwise, one will get opposite results. And I'll tell you, this is true in my life too. I would like to read something first that I planned on reading, and then describe to you how it relates in a personal way. And so this is because it's talking about how, the real way is to cultivate faith in the Lord, not by offering all these Vedic sacrifices and doing the karma kanda ritualistic atonements. The real way is you can do karma, do work, but do it for Krishna's pleasure. So whether you do karma, whether you do jnana, whatever you do it for Krishna. Yat karoshi yad ashnasi, yaj juhoshi tatasi yat tapasyasi konteya tat kurusha mararpanam. 9:27 Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says, whatever you do it for me. Whatever you eat, whatever you offer or give away in charity, do that as an offering to me. So all I'm saying is the bottom line is bhakti. The bottom line is that loving devotion to Krishna. And in the Brahma Samhita, there's a nice verse that talks about getting free from karmic reactions. It's what verse is it? 54. Verse 54. Yas twindragopam atavendra mahosva karma bandhanu rupa palabhajanamathanoti karmani nirdahati kintu jabakti bhajam govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, who burns up to their roots all fruitive activities of those who are imbued with devotion, and impartially ordains for each the due enjoyment of the fruits of one's activities, of all those who walk in the path of work in accordance with the chain of their previously performed works, no less in the case of the tiny insect that bears the name of Indragopa than in that of Indra, the king of the Devas. So that verse is saying that for the devotee, nirdahati, it's finished. All the karmas, finished. Because of bhakti bhajam, one's devotional worship and service. But for everyone else, from the germ all the way up to Indra, Krishna is impartially ordaining the results of their work according to their previous karmas. It's just going on. Super soul. He's the sanctioner, the witness. He's just impartially ordaining it. So in the purport, we read, God impartially induces, impartial, that means he's not taking sides, exactly. God impartially induces the fallen souls to act in the way that is consequent on the deeds of their previous births, and to enjoy the fruition of their labors. But, out of his great mercy to his devotees, he purges out, by the fire of ordeal, the root of all karma, namely nescience and evil desires. So, there's more to the purport, but that sentence I'd like to repeat and focus in on a little bit. That for everyone else, he's giving them whatever's due to them, either suffering or material enjoyment, which is also suffering. But out of his great mercy to his devotees, he purges out. What does purge mean? Expel, to... Let's look it up. Purge means to free someone from something, to remove, to wipe out, to rid something unwanted. So he purges out by the fire of ordeal the root of all karma, not just the karmic reaction, but the root of it, which is what? Nescience and evil desires. So that's very magnificent. This is a very magnificent revelation that we're not just, as devotees, it's not just about getting free from karmic reactions for the sake of doing so, for living a happy material life. It's actually purging out the root of all karma, which is this evil desire, this envy of Krishna. I am the Lord of the universe. I am better than everyone else. Everyone's meant to be for my enjoyment. And in order to enjoy, I have to control everything. I have to be the predominator. I have to gain power and control. And in that way, I will, enjoy my godhood in this material world. But of course, that sounds so foolish to us, right? How can someone think that way? But actually, all the conditioned souls think that way. That's actually the root. Like we said it last night in our reading, that even like some little girl, just walking around, like some innocent child, in the core of their heart is this evil desire to imitate Krishna. I mean, that sounds like, whoa, these guys are fanatic. This is too much. That's a little harsh. But no, that's just the philosophy that otherwise they wouldn't be in the material world. So that's the nature of the Buddha Jiva, conditioned in the material world, is this evil desire to be God and the ignorance of the reality, the ignorance of our true self, ignorance of God. So Krishna purges the root of that's the root. He purges that out of us. I'm running out of time here, but in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, under the section Klesh Agni in chapter 1, or in the beginning of the book, the 6 characteristics of pure devotional service, the first one is Klesh Agni, destruction of distress. And so part of that destruction of distress is getting rid of the sinful reactions, prarabdha and aparabdha, manifest and unmanifest. Secondly, it purges out the proclivity, the tendency to commit sinful activities, the sinful mentality, the nature of a certain sinful act. So for instance, one's a thief, you steal something. So you have to suffer a reaction to that. So bhakti gets rid of that reaction. Bhakti also gets rid of the proclivity, the mentality of, I want to steal, I want to do something dishonest. It'll actually cleanse that mentality. And it cleanses the root of all of that, which is avidya. Rupa Goswami says, avidya is the root cause of all of the sinful activities and reactions. Because it's the misidentification with matter, the false ego, which causes us to get entangled in this way in the first place. And Rupa Goswami backs each of those statements up with Shastric Pramanam from the scriptures. So, okay, losing my train of thought. But yeah, so by the fire of ordeal, right, this is how it's done. So we're not into just getting free from the reactions and then keeping the avidya, the root cause, and then committing them again. That's useless. But really what we're interested in and what's offered by the process of devotional service, what the gift of Krishna consciousness Krishna is offering is to purge out the root of it, which is this avidya, these evil desires to lord over matter. And how is that done? How did Krishna do it? He says it here, by the fire of ordeal. I love that because it makes me feel a little more not so, punished. I feel like Krishna's giving me mercy when we suffer. Suffering is a mercy of Krishna, the fire of ordeal. If things went right in your material life, would you want to leave? If this personality, his daughter got sick, or his daughter got better from this worship of Gauranga Mahaprabhu, he's saying she would become a devotee, everyone else would see it and become a devotee. But actually, no, it's probably it's not true. People get puffed up and complacent. People think, I've worshipped God for my material facility. Bus. Nice. Now I'm good. I'll see you when I need something else, Krishna. And that's the tendency. And I'm sure you all have heard this in World War II. Many of the women would go to the church to pray to God that their husbands would come back safe and sound. And guess what? Almost none of them did. Therefore, everyone became an atheist. So that's a big problem in worshiping, in doing whatever. Whether it's you go to church or go to temple, do a Vedic sacrifice, perform your occupational duties in a very sattvic and pious way. It doesn't matter. If you're not doing it for the purpose of worshiping Vishnu, for his pleasure, with sincere faith, then what you get is the adverse result. You get a bad result. No matter if you get it or not. It's not conducive to long-term happiness. You won't get the joy of heart. Simple as that. So this fire of ordeal is really important because it keeps us on the edge of our seat, keeps us on the tip of our toes, keeps us on that straight and narrow path of devotional service. So that it's Krishna's mercy, really, that such a foolish person like myself and other conditioned souls can receive his correction through different circumstances in the material world. It's like, this, let me just think I will enjoy this way. And then, lo and behold, it caused me a ton of suffering. Krishna doesn't let us get away with anything if we're really sincere. It's very nice of him. It's very kind of him to not let us get away with these things. Sudama Brahman says that, right? In the, in this canto here, in this volume, he says that Sudama is thinking Krishna must have thought, because Krishna didn't give him anything, right? Seemingly, when he left. So Sudama's walking back thinking, Krishna didn't give me any wealth. Krishna must have thought, if this poor wretch suddenly becomes rich, he will forget me in his intoxicating happiness. The compassionate Lord did not grant me even a little wealth. So this is the mentality of devotees. Of course, that's Sudama's humility, but at least for someone like myself, I mean, if Krishna gives me any little material facility, I'll misuse it. So he's keeping me in, some state of, bad digestion, bad health, lack of sleep, keeping me in some sort of, impaired, this and that. But that's his mercy. And this sounds radical. Oh, no. There's other ways. We should flaunt our opulences. Devotees should be the most opulent. That's also there. But that's for King Yudhisthira. That's for Maharaj Ambarish. That's for purer devotees than myself, at least. So I think I'm addressing that sort of caliber of devotee right now. But at least for those who might suffer some ordeals, at least we can take it in a way that Krishna is purifying our attention, that we can actually do sacrifice not for our own benefit, but for his pleasure. So we should really set the time at 8:20, I think, so that then I, don't go all the way to this time. Anyhow, I'm sorry about that. But questions and comments, please, if anyone has anything. Or a reflection, or a correction. In fact, it's good to give corrections while we're still here, because this is broadcasted all over the world. And if I said something incorrect and someone doesn't correct me, then I've just confused, who knows, thousands of people. It could be a real problem. So if there's corrections, I'm begging you to please offer one.
I was just thinking about on Sankirtan, a lot of times it's easy to have compassion for people who are coming closer to Krishna consciousness, that are kind of closer, easier to bring in, but cultivating compassion for the people who are wasting their time doing things not for Krishna out on the street, then feeling the urgency, trying to cultivate the urgency to get them a book. It's pretty difficult, and I was just wondering if you can give some kind of advice for that.
Well, off the top of my head, where were we at just a year ago? Where were we at? Doing all sinful activities, not knowing anything, completely in ignorance. So just think about that. This person's like myself. And that should engender at least a little bit of empathy, and think about how much better off we are now that we have these books, this knowledge, this association, and how can we give that to someone else? And it takes time. We're doing at the neophyte stage, we're doing this bhakti for ourselves, but at a higher stage, we're actually doing it for Krishna, and Krishna is supremely selfless, and therefore he wants all his parts and parcels to come back. So then when we actually get a glimpse of Krishna's compassionate nature, we don't need necessarily to see Krishna to feel that. We just see the devotees, and we get a glimpse of Krishna's compassionate nature. How compassionate are the devotees? So, just about everything else is gained through this association, right? So through association, and just through keep on going with the process.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Okay, Vishal Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. So in today's purport, it says, those who are already renounced in Krishna consciousness, like Vasudeva himself, need only cultivate their faith in the Lord's devotees, his deity form, his name, the remnants of his food, and his teachings as given in Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. So this is actually our whole process, Prabhupada made Iskcon, I think, for this reason, that we associate with devotees, we worship the deity form, we worship his name by chanting, honor his prasad, and read Prabhupada's books. So this purport actually has the Iskcon movement in the whole purport.
Yeah.
Is there?
Yeah. Nice point. Yeah, it's very nice. If we just make sure we're doing how are we doing in all those angas, then we're doing pretty good.
Awesome. A few more comments, if I may. In Bhagavad Gita 10.1, it says in the purport, the last part, it says, the more one hears about the Supreme God, the more one becomes fixed in devotional service. One should always hear about the Lord in the association of devotees. That will enhance one's devotional service. Discourses in the society of devotees can take place only among those who are really anxious to be in Krishna consciousness. Others cannot take part in such discourses. The Lord clearly tells Arjuna that because Arjuna is very dear to him, for his benefit, such discourses are taking place. And another comment. I happened to watch the news yesterday, and they were saying that I think the government and the president is trying to make animal cruelty a felony, right? But he's not vegetarian, so he's eating meat. All these people eating meat, right? And they're trying to make animal cruelty a felony. They should make meat eating a felony.
It's the same thing like the pro-lifers. I saw one Catholic group marching downtown, waving signs for pro-life. That's anti-abortion. Don't kill the fetus. Which we support, of course. That's big. But then you talk to any of them and they eat meat. So they're not pro-life. They're not pro-life. They kill animals and eat them. So, anyways, that should make us grateful for Srila Prabhupada giving us such clear, logical, perfect knowledge. And we'll conclude here. If there are any more comments, we can talk later. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Vanchakalpatarubhishya kripa sindhubhyacha paritanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
All glories, all glories, all glories to the expert preacher and expert book distributor, His Grace Pranahari Das Brahmachari, a disciple of His Grace Vaisheshika Das Adhikari, a disciple of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Hari Hari Bo.